Research shows that peer feedback and formative evaluation are two of the most effective ways to increase student learning. So often when students are writing, the process stops when they hand in their assignment. As teachers, it's our job to make sure that students are learning from their own mistakes and learning from their classmates in order to take a more active role in their learning and improve their achievement. Today, I'm going to show you how to set up a peer feedback process in Eduflow so that students can learn from each other, learn from their own mistakes, and improve their writing. You're going to start off by going to Eduflow. You can click Login. If you have an account, you can just log in with Google, or you can set up an account. And so when you get to this spot here, you can see the different courses that you're teaching. Eduflow gives you 3 free courses with 50 students in each as a part of their free package. So I'm going to use one of my courses, but if you're going to create a course, you'd click here, create empty course. Getting started with a template would be really helpful once you get your course set up to see the different flows that you could use, but it's not necessary right now. So go ahead and start with creating an empty course. I'm going to go to my Eduflow course. And so once I'm at this screen, I can add flows and activities in my course. I can see the activities down here on the left side. And activities are just going to be like one-off assignments per se that you would have students do, whether it's reading content, submitting something, watching a video, discussion, Zoom meetings, or you could have a flow, which is pre-made flows of activities where they have sequences of submission, peer review, self-review, or feedback reflection, or maybe you have a submission, instructor review, and then a feedback reflection. So they're just setting it up for you in a pre-made spot. You can also make your own flows if you want to. So I'm going to start off with a peer and self-review flow, which if you're familiar with peer grade, you should know what this process is because Eduflow took their process and just made it a little more flexible once it left peer grade. So since I'm a science teacher, I'm going to use lab report 1 as the title of this assignment. So if I was having them do a lab report, this is how I would have them do it. There's 4 activities in this flow: submit work, review your own work, and reflect on feedback. So I can go into each individual assignment and change some of the ways that students are seeing this. So I can edit this first submission. This would be like the rough draft that I have them. I can upload, per se, my lab report document that I would normally give them. I can just hand that, since if they're not in person, I can just have it so that when they click on it, they'll see the handout. So your first lab report, here are your guidelines. There are no guidelines, but I could do this if I had a lab report sheet that I wanted them to see. I can change the submission settings, whether they can do multiple attachments. Good to be able to use Google Drive to submit assignments, text editor, video, screencast, webcam, anything like that. I can decide if I want them to be able to edit their submission after they've already submitted. I'm going to let them. I can assign it to a specific subsets, hide it, prerequisite. We don't need to do prerequisites here because this is the first assignment of this flow. And I can also change when this assignment opens and when it is deadline, or when it has a deadline. So if I wanted to open it up a week from now where students can't submit until then, I could do that. And if I wanted to have it due a week after that, I could also do that. So giving them some flexibility if I wanted to with when it's due and when it's able to be submitted to. And then once I do submit your work, I can change how they're going to be able to review the work done by their peers. So I click edit here. Now this is where if I had a rubric, I would upload it here. I don't have to because they're going to be able to see all my rubric criteria anyways, but I want them to be able to see the normal rubric that I would hand out in class, which right now mine only has 1 criteria, but I could have this be a normal rubric and add all the criteria in there. So this is what they're going to be evaluating their lab reports on. So once I do that, I don't need to change the select source because since this is an automatic flow, it automatically has them reviewing this assignment. Then I can change how they're going to peer review each other. So how many do they need to review before they can move on? I can let them do additional. I can let them do unlimited if I want to. I can also change whether this is anonymous or not. The default is that it is anonymous. So if I click this, they will get names of who is reviewing theirs and who they are reviewing in class. And so I can also change how the assignments are getting handed out. I have not played around with this very much. Custom allocation, I think you could maybe get set up so that group submissions were working. But this is basically, it's just going to allocate. It's going to take different assignments and just hand it out to different students as they hand it, making sure that everybody gets 3 to review. Then again, I can decide if I want them to edit or not. I can assign to a different bunch of students. Prerequisites is important for this one because they need to have submitted work before they can review work. If you want to let them review before they've submitted, you can turn this off. Typically, the default is that it's on. I can also set opens at and deadlines for this. So you have, maybe I wanted to say you have to have your reviewing done by this date, 1 day after you submit it. I could do that. So I can finish editing here. Oh, I got to change one thing. When I uploaded my rubric, but I didn't actually set the guidelines for how they were going to review. So down from the bottom, I have my rubric set up in here, but I want them to actually get the criteria while they're reviewing. So I would go to feedback rubric right here. So I'm setting up my feedback rubric questions. If I edit my rubric, the default in Eduflow is that they have one question that asks something that their classmate did well and something that they could improve at. If you want to add your rubric into here, you go down to the bottom and you click add feedback questions. Now I can add a text where they're just going to respond in text. Maybe I want to say what's the best part about this assignment. Maybe I want to have a yes/no question. Right? Did they do this? Did they not do this? If you want to have this set up so it's just a checklist, maybe did they have every section of the lab report on here? I could do that yes/no. I could also do a scale, which is what I'm going to do today. So I want my students looking at the claims of their classmates. So the criteria is going to be claim, and then from the lowest scale to the highest scale, I'm going to put my indicators into Eduflow so that when they're reviewing other people's, they're going to actually read my indicators and they're going to be able to choose from those options. So they don't have to know what a meets expectations is. I'm giving them what that is. And I can decide if it's optional or if I need to have a reviewer add a comment. Excuse me. So once I have that set up, I can then click go back and I'll be done with that. I can also set up a saved rubric if I have that. Maybe I'm using the claim rubric over and over. Maybe I just have a scientific argument rubric that I'm going to use every time they're submitting an argument. I can just reuse that over and over. So I go back here. I'm done editing now. My review work by peers, and I can click review my own work. Do I want to change anything with this? I don't really think I do. This is where you have to have a little bit of, you get to have some choice here. Depends on what you think. If you want to have review your own work before you reflect on your feedback, that's fine. Reflect on feedback is where they're going to get the information from their peers, review their own work. They're going to go back and answer questions about their work. So depending on what you want them to see in their own work, or if you want them to be reviewing their work after they see what their peers say about it, that's fine. You can always switch these two. It doesn't really matter. It could change some prerequisites, but I'm going to leave it set up the way it is. Now, once I'm here, if I want to add some things to this flow, I could. And so let's say I wanted to have a final submission after they get done reflecting on their feedback. So you went through the peer review process. You're going to have final report submission. I could add that. And then maybe I would have an instructor review where I myself are going to grade this. So I would go up to advanced activities and flows, go down to instructor review, and I can click on this, so now I can edit it. And I'm just going to say this review. This would be like me grading this assignment. I need to click a source because it wants to know where, what submission am I going to be reviewing. So I'm going to click, the instructor is going to review this final report submission. I can also change the review settings. I can also change the feedback rubric. If I was going to use the same rubric that I gave to them, I would have to put my rubric in right here. And if I had it saved, I could just reuse it. I could replace rubric with something, the one that I used earlier, or I could just have the one rubric question of feedback to the submission. So, like if I'm as an instructor, it's really effective to just give one thing for them to work on. If I just wanted to add that one thing, I could put it in there and they would get that feedback. And then everything here just the same as normal. Finish editing. And then in order for them to see my feedback, I also have to have a feedback reflection activity and add this activity as source. So I add another activity. And again, you don't have to do something like this. If you just want them to review each other's work, you could be done after reflecting on your feedback. Right? Or you could add one assignment where it's submitting your work and reviewing work by peers, and then they'd be done. If you want them to see the feedback and actually reflect on it and have to put a response in for it, for what I gave them, then I would have to add this right here, the feedback reflection. And so I'm just building this assignment, this whole flow of peer feedback and instructor feedback that we're going to do. Again, for my source, I want them to reflect on this feedback that they got. And so I need to put that in as my source, this review. So now when they get here, they will be reflecting on this feedback that I gave them. So first, just to go through this whole flow, students are going to submit their first draft. Then they're going to review 3 assignments from their peers. They're going to review their own work, right? Have to put a submission in there, put in something they caught from their own work. They're going to reflect on the feedback they got from their peers. Was it good feedback? Was it helpful feedback? What's the most important thing you got? Then maybe a week later, I would set up, they have a final report submission. Okay, they could put in their old one, they could put in a new one. I'm going to review it, and then they're going to reflect on that feedback. The process could stop here if I wanted to grade it. If you wanted to grade it in Google Classroom or another learning management system, you could get rid of this last part of the flow and you could just have your normal submission. They would have hopefully edited their work from these first 4 activities. So that's how you set this up in a teacher, the teacher view part of this. Now, I want to show you what the student view of this looks like. So I'm going to log out of Eduflow, and I'm going to log in with a different account. I did go through and add a couple of submissions to this. And so we should be able to see what this whole process looks like. I actually added it to my physical science class so that the assignments would stay up there. And so what this looks like from the students, they see that flow that I just made, submission, reviewing work, reviewing your own work. Now I cannot go and review work done because I have not submitted yet. So all dates and prerequisites, submitting work must be done before I can complete this activity. So I have to go back and submit my work before I can move on. I can look at the lab handout that I had before, remember? What's the best flavor of ice cream? And I can also see my Google Drive, and that's where I can pull my assignments from. So I go to my email, and I can find my lab report 1 submission right here, one that I typed up. And so it's uploading, and now I have my submission. Guiding question was, what is the best flavor of ice cream? And my claim was, I really like mint chocolate chip and Rocky Road ice cream. So I'm going to submit that claim. Now, once I've submitted, it's checked off, and I can go on to reviewing work done by my peers. Once I get here, I have to complete 1 review. So I did change this for the assignment so I can just see 1 and then move forward. But somebody else has submitted some assignment. So this person said, what is the best flavor of ice cream? They said the best flavor of ice cream is chocolate chip cookie dough. So if I was going through, this is what I would see. I could either download it, I could mention something they did well, I could just say, nice. Could improve at, aim at, top, sure. And then now I can see that feedback that I put in from my specific rubric. So did the report have a claim? Yes, had a claim, so not here. The report had a claim, but it was unclear, did not answer the guiding question. Seems pretty clear, answered the guiding question, so we're going to move on. Did it have a claim that answered the guiding question, but did not clearly answer it? This one's pretty clear. So we're going to click here. This guy got the top. I could add an additional comment if I wanted to. So I'm going to submit my feedback right here, my review. Now, I've checked that off of my flow. I can now review my own work and look at my submission. Okay, so what would you change if you could redo the submission? Well, after looking at the rubric that I saw, I really like mint chocolate chip and Rocky Road ice cream. I would say, now that I saw my partners, I would say I should pick my favorite. Which one is the best is what the claim would say. So I'm going to submit my review, okay? And then I can reflect on my feedback. So I would see, did I get any feedback from anybody? Oh, no, I didn't get any feedback yet. So I'm waiting. So I'm stuck at this point until I get feedback from somebody else. And so it says, check again later, right? So in an asynchronous process, this actually works out really well because as students get done, they're going to be able to move forward through the process. As soon as I get feedback from my partner or from whoever got my submission, I would be able to look at it, decide, was it helpful, was it not helpful? And then I'd be able to go on to the final submission, submit my final lab report, my claim, get my instructor's feedback on it, and then I could also look at what my instructor said. And so that's what the student part of this looks like. It will move them through asynchronously. And so what is this whole, just to kind of complete the feedback loop on our process here, what does this look like for an instructor when someone does something in Eduflow? So I can go back to my physical science class. I can see that 2 students submitted work, and submit your work activities. 2 students have joined my physical science class. I can mark all this team. We don't need to see those. And now I can go to the summary page for physical science, and I can see who are my 2 students. I have Justin Viss and I have JV2. So these are both me. I can see that both have submitted work. I can see that one person, the one that I just did, has reviewed work done by peers, has reviewed his own work, and he's waiting to reflect on his feedback. Well, he hasn't gotten anything yet. I can see that my other student has submitted work but has not reviewed any work done by his peers. And so I can see their progress. I can also see the scores that they got on everything. I can see submission quality was 100%. He got the top score on that one criteria. I can also go here and I can change these prerequisites. So if I all of a sudden want to get rid of these prerequisites, I can do that. And save changes. It's requiring it. I'll remove prerequisites. There we go. Now I can click prerequisites off. And so now this person could move through. I would allow them to do that. I can override where they are at in their process. So this will show me the flow, and if I have a bunch of students, they'll all be lined up down here. And then I would finally be able to go through and look at the final submissions, give the instructor a review if there was something to review. So I don't have anything right now, and so there's nothing there for me. So I think hopefully this process helped you out. I think we can all agree that our goal is for students to take a more active role in their learning. We all want them to be able to figure out how to help each other and to be able to think about what they're doing while they're writing, that metacognition. And those are some of the most important activities that we can have students do in order to improve their learning and their skills. Eduflow is going to streamline this process, allowing students to submit, review, revise, and get feedback from you and from other people in their class all on the same platform. And for teachers, this gives you a simple tool in order to move students through this while maintaining your sanity. It really does streamline the process for you. And once students get used to it, they really get the sense of what this flow is, and they understand what's going to be asked of them. And they really do find it helpful. So I hope this video will help you to use Eduflow in your own classroom. If there's anything I left out, or if you have any other comments, please leave them in the comments below. Thank you.